rates. That's what people are worried about.
It was the overwhelming topic, wasn't it?
And guess what the third one was? Rates.
Yeah, I actually thought you were wrong.
The average person's not really aware of that.
But they've all become woke about debt. If we're going to look after the money...
Perish the thought,
Perish the thought. How good would that be? I don't get there.
I'll add a little bit of cynicism to that, and they're all candidates. And they're too scared not to mention it, because people ask me, well, who are the spenders? The spenders are hiding it.
They feel like they've missed out for so long, but everything needs to be looked at and rescoped.
There's a great degree of self-interest in that. That's something, Max, that I won't have to worry about.
Well, actually, I hide my cynicism better than you, that's all. Yep. I didn't come in because I wanted to build an edifice or a monument or a whatever. One of the early things I called for was a review of council. And 3 years later, nearly, I still haven't been allowed to see it. I suspect that it was too revealing. Anyway, I'm looking forward on October the 12th to reading that review.
I can honestly say, hand on heart, that's something I've never done.
They've got a pet thing they want, and they've sacrificed their values.
It's a bit sad, isn't it?
That's the cynical part of me.
Yeah, that one.
I'm terrified of that.
And vibrancies, the double V's.
Yeah. Visionaries are very expensive people.
Aren't they? They're the spenders, mate.
So there's a different campaign shift happening this time. It'll be interesting to watch.
We shall see.
We shall see. So Gordon, thanks for coming down. Guess we have a few chats to catch up on at different times. That meeting last night at the Plymouth candidates meeting for existing councillors who are running for and community board that are running for council.
Yep.
What was your impression of the meeting last night? Was it?
Oh, it's really good actually. I thought it was a very engaged audience, and I think reflected the anxiety that's out there in the community about what direction the council's going, but more especially you couldn't get away from rates. That's what people are worried about.
It was the overwhelming topic, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And you probably recall I started my speech with there's only 3 topics I want to talk about. Number 1, which is rates. Number 2, rates. And guess what the third one was? Rates. Because so much dissatisfaction with the council's performance revolves around that.
Yeah, I actually thought you were wrong. I thought, yeah, well, I thought that the number 1 was rates.
Yep.
Number 2 was rates.
Yep.
But they're both intrinsically linked to our debt. And I thought number 3, you could argue from a purist point of view that actually that's part of the picture and it should be rates, debt. But that's just me. I mean, I look at the way the debt's growing, and I look at how we're building that debt, and the theory about we need to fund debt intergenerationally for infrastructure assets, but I'm not convinced that the accounting policy of how they're doing it is right yet. That's actually something I think we need to peel into.
Yeah, I think if you dig deeper, the second layer and the second level of detail, you're right. But I think the average person's not really aware of that. They have a disquiet over the ballooning amount of debt.
And the rate that it's going up, the time factor and the scale.
Yep.
And that's part of what that long-term plan review is that we want to.
It's worrying, isn't it, that our debt is now matching almost the level of the value of the perpetual fund.
I would say any given day it's at that level, plus or minus a little bit, because the fund has suffered a little bit this year too, so they probably are identical.
Oh, let's run a sweepstake and guess the date when our debt will exceed the value of our perpetual investment fund. It puts the word perpetual at a bit of a risk.
Well, my money's on Monday.
Monday. Well, I think Donald Trump certainly upset the apple cart with his tariffs, but I think it's actually interesting that the markets have all settled down and gone back to exceeding their previous highs. So these are global issues that we can only affect to a certain amount. What we can affect, of course, is what our council spends.
Yeah, and that was actually the topic, the overwhelming topic. I'll tell you what was really, like I sat down the back last night. It wasn't a meeting for me. But I wanted to hear what the candidates were all saying, and what was really cheering for me is, and I hate to use the term woke, but they've all become woke about debt. It's like the scales have lifted off their eyes, that we can't keep layering on these projects and the costs of doing everything one thing at a time and just keep piling them up. We have to stop and pause and look at it all and go, if we're going to have to keep our rates down, if we're going to look after the money, we've got to start doing it systematically. And they're all singing the same song. So even if I don't get there, heaven forbid.
Perish the thought.
Perish the thought. How good would that be? I don't get there. Even if I don't get there, what I'm really pleased to see is 9 candidates on the stage, and they're all saying the same thing. It's like a brave new world. We've got to look after the money. Everybody's starting to realise that if you don't look after the money, you can't do anything else.
I'll add a little bit of cynicism to that. I'd like to agree with you, but I think you're underestimating the fact that it's a campaign and they're all candidates and they're too scared not to mention it. And the spenders hide it, because people ask me, well, who are the spenders? And it's very hard to tell from these meetings, because you've always got groupthink. I don't want to be the one missing out, and I want to support Lee and Lai, and I think we should build more things. They don't say that. It's only when they get into office. And that's why we had a group of 4 councillors in this term who politically were very aligned and often started 4-0 down. This time, I like to think we've got the 4 who are yourself, Murray, myself, Brian, are forming a block where the rates is first, second and third. And okay, you swap the third for spending and debt, and they're all linked to the same thing. So I'd like to think you're right, but I'm afraid the spenders are hiding it.
They are, but if you look at the makeup of the district-wide and the Kaiteki Ngāmuri ward structure, there's that many vacating seats. Inglewood, Waitara.
We've got 6 new guaranteed councillors.
Inglewood and Waitara, they're always going to want to spend for Inglewood and Waitara. That's a given, because they feel like they've missed out for so long, and there's some validity to that. But they've had a fair bit of largesse thrown their way in recent times. And I'm not suggesting for a minute that needs to stop in its entirety, but everything needs to be looked at and rescoped.
You know, someone listening to this and watching this would be saying, excuse me, what a nice man Max is, and what a cynic Gordon Brown is, because the Waitara and Inglewood councillors want to spend the money in their areas so they can get re-elected. There's a great degree of self-interest in that, and they'll blithely ignore the oath we all take to make decisions what's best for the district.
Suggesting that if you were standing in Waitara, you would have to support 41.7 or 6 or whatever it is $1 million for the walkway.
That's something, Max, that I won't have to worry about.
Look, I hide my cynicism better than you, that's all.
I choose not to, because otherwise people mistake things because they want to believe certain things. And I think the beauty of us is, and certainly with Murray and Brian, is what you see is what you get.
Yeah. You talk about the voting block, right?
Yep.
So what I've seen is it's an unspoken, but it's an active happening of, I'll support your project if you support mine. And that seems to be what happens. So the beauty for me is I came in here with no bent on any particular project. Yep. I didn't come in because I wanted to build an edifice or a monument or a whatever, and I'm not going to name those, but we all know what they are. I came in here 3 years ago, and my overriding, my only goal was to see council actually do better. And one of the early things I called for was a review of council, which Neil agreed to and had done. And it was written, and 3 years later nearly I still haven't been allowed to see it.
Oh,
So
you're not in the favoured few.
well, not even, yeah, but even that aside, I suspect that it wasn't because I wasn't in the favoured few. I suspect that it was too revealing.
Political.
Anyway, I'm looking forward on October the 12th to reading that review.
I've never been conscious or ever seen or been aware of you support my project and I'll support yours. I can honestly say, hand on heart, that's something I've never done in 5 terms on council.
I'm not suggesting you have, but because you just want the best, from what I've seen and witnessed, you want the best for New Plymouth on the whole.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, but what I see is, I've seen people who've got a pet in the voting block of 4 that you talk about. They've got a pet thing they want, and they've sacrificed their values on what they think about another project to achieve what they want with their project.
It's a bit sad, isn't it?
That's the cynical part of me.
I suspect you're right, but it was interesting, just getting back to last night's meeting, that 200 people plus in the Plymouth Hotel ballroom, and it was revealing just ordinary people. The Ratepayers Alliance had made it possible for everyone to be a part of that, and they don't have to even support them, but they can use that as a platform, and no ordinary people can come along and just have their views aired and their questions answered. And there was a certain
unanimity.
Yeah, that one. To the responses they were getting from the councillors, and I'm sure that, putting aside my cynicism, revealed and yours latent, that there was a desire there to address those concerns, and what you have to guard against is not being soft-soaped by the officers and others who have a vision.
Vision.
Because vision
I'm terrified of vision.
and vibrancies, the double V's, every time they are mentioned, it costs everyone else money.
It costs a lot. Visionaries are very expensive people.
Aren't they? They're the spenders, mate.
Yeah, it's interesting. It was. I felt it was quite a good meeting, and I think there's another one tonight. It's a council seat platform only. It's not a mayoral platform meeting, so it's for councillors, and I think that's actually quite a good idea to some degree, because councillors, there's a lot of councillors or people running for council, but they also run for mayor
To get on council.
Because a mayoral contestant gets a lot more publicity, gets all the interviews, all of that stuff happens more. So it's really good to see Ratepayers Alliance in a neutral position. Ratepayers Alliance running councillor only campaign meetings. Chamber of Commerce have picked up on that. I think Rotary have picked up on that this time. So there's a different campaign shift happening this time, that they're running events for councillors to give them some airtime, and that, to me, that allows people to have some better honesty in what they're standing for. Actually, they don't need to water down the mayoral vote. They can strengthen the mayoral vote. So if you're a true mayoral contender, you stand for the mayoralty.
Yeah.
And if you are wanting to be on council, you stand for council. And there's equal platforms for both now.
Yeah.
And that's never existed in the past.
Agreed.
So I think that's really good. So it'll be interesting to see tonight how that goes, because there are some candidates there that are running for council and the mayoralty. Whether they're able to distinguish what they're standing for tonight, it'll be interesting to watch.
We shall see.
We shall see.
Okay. Nice to chat, and a typically warm Taranaki day. It's almost spring. Good luck in the Mayoralty.
Thank you.